Hey friends. Okay, I just recorded a long version of this in a live. I wanted to record a short, concise version as well now that I've processed it more. Okay, so I just discovered a part this morning and I wanted to share it right now in my workout clothes while it's fresh right after it happened because I just feel really drawn to, and I love healing and I love getting more clarity. And if we can all learn from each other's healing, it just speeds up everyone's journey together. Okay, so it's been so mega insightful. So I had discovered a part, maybe multiple parts. A part of me is able to identify, notice cause and effect, and notice what types of thoughts, feelings, actions, behaviors, habits produce thriving mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, relationally, financially. Well, mostly mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And it notices those and it keeps track of all of them and it stores them within myself, these awarenesses of what produces thriving. And it, feeling joy and thriving is a very high value for me. It's very delicious. And also experiencing that in community is very high value for me and very delicious to my system. It's one of my, it's very precious to my heart. Just thinking about it. Okay, so I value and desire harmony, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and thriving, being physically healthy, emotionally healthy, mentally healthy, having energy, having excess energy rather than living in debt of never having enough or being healthy enough. I like to live thriving and with excess. A spare moment to breathe and pause. You don't need to be excessively busy at every single moment of the day, or trying to get healthy every single moment of the day. So my system notices and tracks awareness of what actions, habits, lifestyle, and choices create that. And it desires that for me, and desires that for me and experiencing it in community. So there was this part that carried the experience of others are not available for thriving together. They likely won't be available for engaging in thriving experiences together, which is super, super sad. Granted that that's one of my top values. And this part also carried the belief that if it attempts to engage in that or create that, a thriving experience with other people, there will likely be a roadblock that gets in the way. And if it proceeds to try to keep creating anyway, there will likely be a second roadblock. And if it continues to proceed and try and create a thriving experience together anyway, there'll likely be a fourth one, and it will actually never end. There's only going to be roadblocks, and it's not going to be possible. So this part created the response of, first of all, being very wary about believing that, this makes me sad still, brings up sadness. Be very wary about believing that joy and thriving is even possible in community, first of all. And then that because believing helps bring all of those emotions and experience of being able to feel and see and imagine and experience how great it could be. So I was really nervous about even believing that it's possible. And then also that if a roadblock gets hit, turn down the dimmer switch on how much I can access that joy of awareness of how great it can be, awareness that it even exists, that really awesome thriving experiences exist in community. And then if a second roadblock gets hit, or a third one especially, it would just dim down the awareness and the emotions. And if especially sometimes the second if it's big enough, but especially by the third roadblock, it would just dim it down completely and take away all of the awareness of how good it can be, how you can do it, what it's like, what those experiences are like. So that's a great protective mechanism to avoid the pain of being able to, of feeling presently how wonderful it can be in a moment when it's not going to be possible. No matter what you do, it cannot ever happen. That would be just excruciatingly painful. So this protective mechanism would shut it down, dim it down, turn down the volume, and make it go away completely. And it would be gone. So then you couldn't feel how sad it is that this is not going to be possible in this moment, this hour, this day, whatever the time period is, or whatever the space is, or group of people. So it's easier to live life not feeling that. And then at that point, it could just focus on trying to be as happy as it could be within the circumstance. And usually with an inward focus of like, okay, well then just within myself, by myself, within myself, I'll find ways to be happy. I'll reflect on things I'm grateful for. I'll connect to what is available and accessible. And now that all of this got taken away. So what this would result in is very timidly ever speaking up about these desires with people, being very timid about it, maybe not even sharing the full thing, the full vision, the full desires. It just shutting down, disappearing pretty quickly at the slightest view that others won't be interested in it, won't want to do it, aren't available or capable, and it would just go away completely. So sadly, this really huge desire of my soul has been dimmed and non-existent for a lot of the moments of my life. Like I couldn't even feel it or remember it or in its full magnitude. And this part would also lead to me just doing whatever other people wanted. If there was someone else in the space had a want, it would be louder. It wouldn't even need to be very big to be louder than the volume of my own want or my own heart's desire, deepest desire and soul desire. So then my system would just make itself productive and helpful for other people's wants, and other people's fires, like pain or desires or whatever. It would just end up, the result would be it would not feel my own, and it would just spend its time helping other people's. So another downside to this, or another way that this would show up, would be that on my own, like not around my community, like by myself, I could have really happy experiences. I would do it all the time. During my workday, when I'd have a break, I'd go walk in a pretty neighborhood and enjoy nature, enjoy the plants, enjoy the architecture and design, the landscaping, and just be thoughtful and feel. I'd take myself on walks through parks. I would have great meditation, like meditative ponderings while driving and out and about. So it resulted in me being able to access higher levels of happiness by myself than often would be available with other people. And it would result in people feeling like I keep them at arm's length, like energetically or emotionally, because this part, it was super scary for it to share its desires with people, this particular part in this particular desire, because it was very, it's so deeply valuable to me and meaningful, that tasting it, like letting the volume get turned up for me to feel it. And if it wasn't going to be possible, or if someone was going to disrespect it or something, that would be so extra painful because it's so close to my heart, that it'd be very, it wouldn't let it come out or be felt very much around people. So then people didn't get to see or experience that wonderful desire in me. And then even had a hard time trusting. So even if people would say like, hey, I'm game, let's do that. Let's have an experience, a thriving experience together in community. Like it would have a hard time letting the volume go all the way up. It would have a hard time trusting, and it would take, quite a while, and there'd be a lot of apprehension and doubt, and ready for it to not work out, or something to come in, the other shoe to drop. And then, so then in my daily life or anything else, yeah. So another way that this would show up would be like, wow, I feel happier by myself than around people. Wow, being around that person makes me end up feeling really low, slow, and sluggish. And it's not even necessarily because of that person. It's just because if this gets turned down, that's one of the results of like, oh, I don't really feel my passion, my hope, that particular hope, thriving energy. That's a lower, less energized, less excited, slower feeling. But it's not necessarily about that person. It's just, and it would be anyone, whoever's closest to me in community would be where that's most likely, would likely show up. Okay, anything else? So the downside of this protective mechanism of let's turn it off, if there's a chance that it's not going to be possible, it'll be less painful to live life not feeling it. Like if it's not possible to have that in community, life will be better if we can't feel it at all, versus feeling it at the full max while it not being able, like feeling my desire for it and how much joy it brings me while not being able to experience it would be like, to that part, I felt like that would be the most crushing thing ever. But the result of it turning it off would be that it would disappear from my awareness and my mind. Like the thoughts, the ideas, would be gone too. So how could I go about creating those experiences if the data of them disappeared? So if, say, just, hey, a group of friends walking this really cute downtown area and getting pizza or ice cream together is one of the visuals that comes to mind of like, oh, that would be a way to feel this particular feeling. But then a roadblock appears of someone doesn't return a call, or someone says, everyone in this area is really busy. So I doubt, like even before even attempting to create it, just bringing in that perspective of, oh no, it's not going to be possible, people will be too busy. Or who knows, these aren't necessarily experiences I've had, but they're examples of what this could look like. And so if that, as soon as like a roadblock or a doubt appears, if it goes away, and I don't even have the awareness of that activity, like how could I move forward creating it? Like, hey, I want to find 4 people, or get together 4 of my friends, and pick a date where we can go walk this really cute downtown space together. Like, how fun would that be? That wouldn't happen if the awareness of it disappeared. Oh man. And so same thing for anything of like, wow, having 3-hour staycation excursion experiences together as a family, like at least once a month, is so fueling and so amazing. If that awareness disappears, then how would I do the next steps of, okay, well, let's book it out on the calendar. Let's like the first Saturday of every month, I'm gonna block out a 3-hour time. Everyone commit, everyone game for this. Yes, okay, everyone's gonna block it out on their calendars, make sure they don't schedule work for that time or something. Okay, then let's start planning what experiences are within, nearby that we could do during that time period. Oh, that's an awesome one, done, scheduled. Oh, that's an awesome one, done, scheduled for the next month. Cool, we're scheduled 3 or 4 months out. It's already in place. Everyone knows to not book anything over that time, and to like make sure we get any other responsibilities done prior so that we're free and available. Ta-da! Like, how could that process take place if the awareness of the idea itself disappeared? Oh my goodness. So also, this coping mechanism or protective mechanism of it disappearing didn't leave enough time to learn the skills of how to do it. Because then, so if you want to create opportunities for community and connection, there's a lot of skills involved of like time management, awareness of how, awareness, like inviting people, even just having the conversation with another person. An invitation also includes a lot of skills of like how to talk in a way that facilitates that interaction, how to schedule things, how to share the vision of what is the vision that's wanting to get created, and then offering the invitation. If you feel drawn to that vision, you could join in this experience together. So the skills of offering an invitation, the skills of identifying specifics of what types of activities would line up with that particular desire or intention. Like budgeting for it, planning ahead and budgeting in advance so that you have the funds to do it. Talking to enough people about it. I don't know, there's just like any of the steps of how to do it. There wasn't enough time to even like practice those when it would just disappear instantaneously, like instantly. And the thought disappears too. Instead of like staying in the mind to have time to like think it through and like practice gaining these skills. Anywho, my goodness. Okay, so I said this was gonna be short in a synopsis, but it is longer. That's okay. So as you can see this part, I can see where it's coming from. I can see why you did that, and how that felt like that was gonna be really helpful, and it probably was in certain circumstances. And I can also see how it's not helping. So when I was able to talk with it this morning and gain more clarity, I could see what the missing pieces are, because parts often end up creating more of what they don't want. They usually end up creating the opposite of what it is they desire. And this part was continuing to result in not having community thriving experiences as a result of this whole disappearing situation. But when I'm able to stay in contact with that desire and the awareness and the deliciousness of it, of having thriving experience, then I have the option to gain the skills and learn how and understand and do the steps of creating opportunities for it and sending out invitations and getting better and better at it. Okay, anything else? Yeah. So some other outcomes that this was creating in my life was not having those habits for thriving in my life. Because although I had this part of me that kept an awareness of all of them, it would disappear. I wouldn't have access to it all the time. So those awarenesses weren't always with me and always plainly obvious. And like the feeling of it and the joy of that thriving feeling also wasn't always accessible and with me. Because when that thriving feeling is with me, then I can feel excited to go to bed on time and feel excited to wake up on time. I can feel excited to get my workout in at the time that's good for me and not let it get pushed back and delayed. Like I can feel excited and fueled to do all of these things when I can stay in contact with the thriving happiness feeling that it creates and it's about. But when that would disappear, I would end up not feeling that as excited about life, as hopeful. I would have less feeling that things are possible. I would have more like apathetic, give up experience, like scrolling, staying up late scrolling, staying up late kind of for no good reason, just like out of apathy and upset that life isn't more fulfilling. And my life is quite fulfilling, but there's a higher level available to me that this part was kind of holding. Anyway, so those kinds of outcomes, also other people not getting to experience this and know this part of me very well or very often. Also confusion about not knowing why I sometimes feel lower and slower and more lethargic around my home, or around certain people, around certain topics about responsibilities. So, having a lot more clarity now. All right, so cheers to discovering our parts, or what's in our unconscious, or our limiting beliefs, or wounds that contain blocks that are limiting our life. And cheers to getting to see ourselves more, hear the desires of our heart, feel them, feel more joy, happiness, and thriving, and connection within our own self, and therefore then connection with what's outside of us. Because you can only connect with what's outside of you, with the world, other people, and God as much as you can connect with yourself. Or at least that's an idea. We'll find out if it's true or not. Okay, so cheers to healing. If anyone else values hearing examples and hearing other people's parts, I made this for you because I really do. And I feel like a lot of healing and clarity and insight can be gained from story and from other people's experience. So that is why I felt really drawn to share this. Plus, it also helped me get more clarity. Okay, cheers to healing.